Okay, so let us begin with three bows of the Buddha. 1, 2, 3. And we'll start also with the salutation to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. And today is June 7th, 2021. And we're still reading the Veda Vitaka Sutta, the sutta on the two kinds of thought. And we're coming to the end of the sutta. There's a simile. And before I go into the new material, I'll just, because the second part of the simile is just the converse of the first part, which we did two weeks ago. So let's just summarize the first part of the simile. Okay, so the simile is that there is a sort of a marshland, low-lying marshland in a forest, and there's a large herd of deer that are living on base on that marshland. And then a person would come along who wants to harm the deer. And so he closes off the path, which is safe, secure, and joyful. And then he opens up a wrong path, a bad path. He puts down a decoy and sets up a female decoy. And so that great herd of deer at a later time would come upon misery and disaster, and their number would be diminished. Okay, so that is what we did last time. Now we come to the positive side of the simile. Maybe Thomas, would you want to be the responder?
Yes, Bhante.
Okay. Okay, so now I'm resuming with Taseva Kopana. Taseva Kopana Bhikkhave.
Taseva Kopana Bhikkhave.
Mahato Miga Sangasa.
Mahato Miga Sangasa.
Kochi Deva Puriso Upajaya.
Kochi Deva Puriso Upajaya.
Attakamo Hitakamo.
Atthakamo Hitakamo.
Yoga Kema Kamo.
Yoga Kema Kamo.
Okay, so here, Taseva is Tassa referring to Miga Sangasa. So that same large, for that same large herd of deer, then Kochi Deva Puriso, some man, some person, Upajaya would arise. And this man, Attakamo, Hitakamo, Yoga Kema Kamo. So he desires their good, he desires their welfare, he desires their security from bondage. So continuing. So, this is hard for me to say. So, Yavas.
So Yavasa.
Okay, good. So Yavasa Mago Kamo Sovatiko Piti Gamanio.
Maggo Kemo Sovatiko Piti Gamaniyo.
Tung Magam Vivaraya.
Tam Maggam Vivaraya.
Pidaheya Kumagam.
Pidaheya Kummagam.
Uhaneya Okacharam.
Uhaneya Okacharam.
Nasaya okacharika.
Nasaya okacharikam.
Okay, so this man would okay, so here we have a subordinate clause here. And so the subordinate clause would be so mago kemo so vatiko piti gamanio. So that path, and then the guess it would be yo asa. And the asa I think is would be. And the so and the yo, no, the so is referring to the man, and the yo is referring to the path, mago. And so the so, that is the man, vivareya, he would open up tongue magam, that path. And then the path is described by the subordinate clause. Which path would be safe, secure, and joyful, to be traveled with joy. Maybe put it this way. As for the path that is safe, secure, to be traveled with joy, he, the man, would open up tongue magam, that path, and then pidaheya ku magam, he would close off the bad path, then uhaneya okacharam, so he would remove the okacharang is a male decoy. He would remove the male decoy. And naseya, he would destroy okacharikam. I guess okacharikam is just a female decoy, so he would destroy the female decoy. I don't know, I can't tell from this whether the decoy is a tamed animal that's used to attract the wild deer, or whether it's like a artificial model. Like nowadays, it would be made out of plastic. In those days, maybe made out of wood and painted to look like a deer. I don't know. Anyway, so then continuing. Evang hiso bhikkhave
Evam hiso bhikkave.
mahamiga sangho
Mahamiga sangho.
aparena samayena
Aparena samayena.
vudding virulhi vepulang apache.
Buddhim virulhim vepullam apajjaya.
Okay, so the evang he is thus. The he just gives a little emphasis. So thus, O monks, that large herd of deer, aparena samayena, that's at a later time. And notice the use of the instrumental, but in English we say at a later time. It would, apajaya, it would achieve the vudding is growth, virulhi, almost the same in meaning, increase, vepulang, expansion. And so thus, O monks, at a later time, that large herd of deer would achieve growth, increase, and expansion. So any questions about anything here?
But what is the word asa doing there? Yo asamago.
Yeah, I take this to be the optative of the verb ati, the same as siya, same in meaning. So that which, as for the path, which would be safe, secure, and joyful. that path he would open up. Understood?
Yes, Bhante, thank you.
Okay, any other question? Okay, then we can go on. Okay, so now continuing, the text says, Upama ko me ayam bhikkhave kata
Upama khome ayam bhikkhave kata
atasa vinyapanaya.
athasa vinyapanaya.
Yeah, so he says, this upama is a simile. So he says, this simile has been made, kata. Kata is a past participle and is feminine singular to agree with upama, which is a feminine singular. So this simile has been made by me, the me, by me. Then atasa vinyapanaya. What case is vinyapanaya?
Dative.
Yeah. So it's the dative of purpose. And then the word vinyapanaya is a causative form, or it's based on a causative verb. So the verb, causative verb would be vinyapeti, which is causative. It's derived from vijanati. So vijanati is to understand, at least one of the meanings, to understand, to know. And the causative vinyapeti is to cause to know, to cause to understand, or we could say to communicate. And then from the verb vinyapeti, we get a noun. Vinyapana, communication or conveying. And so this is for the conveying of the meaning, a meaning. So he's saying this simile, O monks, has been made by me for the purpose of communication of the meaning, for the conveying of the meaning. And then he continues, he says, now he's going to explain the terms in the simile. So he says, ayam,
Ayam
ayam chave eta atto.
ayam chevetha atho.
Yeah. So eta is here, referring to the simile, and then ayam goes with atto. So this and the cheva is just and. So and this is the meaning here. This is the meaning of the simile. Then comes the explanation. Mahantam ninang palalanti ko bhikkhave.
Mahantam ninnam pallalantiko bhikkhave.
Kamanam etam adivachanam.
Kamanametam adhivachanam.
Okay, so the large lowland marsh or swamp, not a swamp, it's sort of like a lowland, like a forest, like lowland. So this is adivachana, in this case, a designation or we could say a symbol, the representation of kama, sensual pleasures. So the large, low-lying marshland, this is a designation or symbol for sensual pleasures. Then Mahamiga Sangoti Ko Bhikkhave Sat.
Maha
Okay.
Mega Sanghotiko Bhikkhave
Satanam etam adivachanam.
Sattanametam Adivachanam.
So the great herd of deer, O monks, this is a designation of sentient beings. Then puriso, anattakamo, ahitakamo, ayoga kema kamoti.
Puriso Anathakamo Ahitakamo Ayoga Kema Kamoti
Ko bhikkhave
Ko Bhikkhave
maras etang apimato adivachanam.
Marasetam Papimato Adivachanam.
Okay, so the man who wishes the harm and the harm, the danger, and so forth to the deer, this is a designation for Mara, and Mara is also called Papima, the evil one. Then Kumago Tiko Bhikkhave,
Kumagoti Ko Bhikkhave
Atangikas Etam Micha Magasa Adivachanam.
Attangikasetam Michhamagasa Adivachanam.
So the bad path, this is a designation for the eightfold wrong path. And then we don't have to go through this word for word, but that is to say, the path of wrong view, wrong intention, wrong speech, wrong action, wrong livelihood, wrong effort, wrong mindfulness, wrong concentration. Okay, then Oka Charo Tiko Bhikkhave,
Okacharoti Ko Bhikkhave
Nandi Ragas Etang Adivachanam.
Nandiragasetam Adivachanam.
Okay, so the male decoy, this is a designation for Nandi Raga. Nandi is delight and Raga is lust. Maybe the reason why the male decoy represents Nandi Raga is because the word Raga is a masculine gender. Whereas, see the next one, Okachari Katiko Bhikkhave,
Okachari Katiko Bhikkhave
Avijai Etang Adivachanam.
Avijjayetam Adivachanam.
Yeah, the female decoy, this is a designation for ignorance because avijja is a feminine noun. So it's represented by the feminine female decoy. And Nandi Raga is a male noun. And so it's represented by the male decoy. Okay, then. Puriso Attakamo, Hitakamo, Yoga Kema Kamo Tiko Bhikkhave.
Puriso Atthakamo Hitakamo Yoga Kema Kamo Tikho Bhikkhave
Tathagatas Etangadivachanam.
Tathagata Setam Adivachanam
Arahato Sammasambuddhassa.
Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Okay, so the man who desires the good, desires the welfare, desires the security from bondage of the deer, this is a designation for the Tathagata, who is also the worthy one, the perfectly enlightened one. Then Kamo Mago Sovatiko Piti Gamaniyo Tiko Bhikkhave.
Kemo maggo sovatiko pitigamaniyoti ko.
Arias etang atangikasa magasa adivachanam.
Ariyasetam attangika samaggasa adivachanam.
Okay, so the path which is safe, secure, and to be traveled with joy, this is a designation for the noble eightfold path. And that is for right view and so forth, to right concentration. Okay, so that takes us through the application of the simile. So any questions here?
Hello, Bhante. I have a few questions from that section.
Yeah, I'm not getting your sound very clearly.
No? Maybe I can try back in 1 second. Sorry.
What is it? Can you try again?
Yeah, is this any better, Bhante?
I could make
Is
it
this
out.
better? Okay.
Just try to ask. Okay, just ask the question.
Okay, so the first question is
Yeah,
about.
that's much better. That's much better.
Okay, great. This is from the question about the past participle hita and all these other words which come from the word dahati. I don't understand how dahati, like to carry or to place down, turns into hita as a past participle.
I don't know either. It just does.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but hita, even though, wait, the word hita, originally it's a past participle of dahati, but it takes on independent meaning as a noun, meaning well-being.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
just the way it works, since it's based on the Sanskrit. I think it's the same as Sanskrit. It's just the way it happens. I don't know. Okay. Is Lauren on the call now?
Yes, Bhante.
Can you explain that on the basis of the Sanskrit?
Well, there are a number of past participles that they kind of form in their own ways.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact grammatical rule, but as you said, the root dha forms its past participle with hita, and there are many other exceptions that seem a little bit different from the normal expected formation, but that's how it works.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'll just remember that. And a question about the kumaga, the prefix kum, is that, I mean, that's fairly unique. Does kum appear in any other words, or is it just unique for this kumaga?
No, one gets it occasionally with other words. I remember Puriso is like a bad person. Let me see if I can get, let me see if I could get some instances of this. I get Kupurisa only in the grammar texts. But I'm sure that I've seen it, something like that. Yeah, I think there are other forms with ku. I'd have to go do a sort of systematic search for them.
And it just means bad to some extent.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And so one last quick question about these compounds with kamo at the end. Are those accusative taparisa compounds? or bahubihi?
These are definitely bahubihi compounds. Yeah, these would be bahubihi compounds. Because the compound is functioning, it ends in a noun. The noun is comma, and it's functioning as an adjective describing a noun outside of itself, in this case, puriso.
Thank you so much, Bhante.
Bhante?
Yeah, I just want to look for something. I'm sure that in the Dhammapada I came across another word with ku. But I don't want to lose time searching for it. Please, please. Was that Kamal? Kamal?
No, Bhante, I was just going to say purely speculative, of course, but it may be the connection between dahati and hita is just like giving and a gift in English, or presenting and a present. So it's something is put down, placed, and the other one of the meanings of hita is benefit, or something that a gift also. So could be something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, any other questions?
Ante,
Yeah.
I have a question. Meaning related.
Yeah.
The michasati.
Yeah.
What is the case of michasati? What's the meaning? The situation.
Yeah, all of these words from Micha Ditya, Micha Sankapasa, all of these are genitive case because it's taken in relation to adivachana. So this is a designation for the eightfold wrong path, and that is to say for, or a designation of wrong view, of wrong intention, and so forth.
The reason why I asked was because of the sati. Probably, I just need a more clarification. Sati is always like never wrong. It's always good. So, when do you use michasati? What case? What situation?
It's never explained in the text. So sort of the Abhidhamma tradition says that there's no such thing as wrong sati, that sati is always good. But it says micha sati means the absence of mindfulness. But I'm not sure that I agree with that, because it seems to me that the bank robber who performs his bank robbery with great care and attentiveness is using mindfulness to pull off the bank robbery. But we would call it wrong mindfulness.
It's never really explained
No,
elsewhere, right? Okay,
no,
thank
no.
you.
We just get this list of eight wrong qualities. Okay, shall we go on? Okay, so now the Buddha is going to sort of apply the simile. So he says, Itiko bhikkhave,
Itiko bhikkhave,
vivatto maya kemo muggo,
vivato maya khemo maggo,
so vattiko piti gamaniyo,
so vattiko piti gamaniyo,
pihito kumuggo,
pihito kummaggo,
uhato okacharo,
uhato okacharo,
nasita okacharika.
Nasita okacharika.
Okay, so the itiko is just like thus, O monks. Then the word vivato, or vivato, this is the past participle of vivarity. Vivarity is we had it in the optative form. Yeah, so the indicative would be vivarity, which is to open up. And it's the opposite of varity, is sort of like to close off or to contract, like we have like in sort of the monastic training. Sangvara is restraint, usually of the senses. Indriya sangvara, restraint of the senses, in that one is drawing in the sense faculties, not letting them run outwardly. But vivarity is to, in this case, it's to end that closed off condition, to open up. So that is the verb, and then it gives the past participle, vivata. I guess because it's in Sanskrit, it would be vivrita. Okay, so thus, O monks, the safe path, which is secure and to be traveled joyfully, has been opened up by me. And then pihito kumago, the bad path, has been closed off. And here we find another example of, we have a verb. I think it's padahati. Above we had.
Peter.
Yeah, above we had the optative pitaheya. Would this be the correct indicative form? Padahati?
I think with the P,
I'm sorry, a P. Pidahati. Yeah. So pidahati, the optative pidaheya, but the past participle becomes pahita. Which means closed. So the bad path has been closed or blocked. And then the male decoy has been removed. The female decoy has been destroyed. And then what comes next, this is sort of a standard passage that we come across quite often. I think we've come across it before. Yang bhikkhave satara karaniyam.
Yam bhikkhave sattara karaniyam.
Savakanam.
Savakanam.
Hitesina anukampakena.
Hitesina anukampakena.
Anukampang upadaya.
Anukampam upadaya.
Katang votam maya.
Katam votam maya.
Etani bhikkhave rukamulani.
Etani bhikkhave rukkhamulani.
Etani sunyagarani.
Etani sunyagarani.
Jayata bhikkhave ma pumadata.
Jayatha bhikkhave ma pamadatha.
Ma pacha vipati sarino.
Ma
Ahuvata.
Ma pacha vipatisarino ahuvatha.
Yeah. Ayan vo amhakam anusasani.
Ayam vo amhakam anusasani.
Okay, so the Buddha says, young, this is the pronoun, and it goes with karaniyam. So what should be done? Then satara, this would be an instrumental form by a teacher. It's the instrumental of the agent noun, satar. So what should be done by a teacher? And then savakanam hi tesina. So this is a compound of hita, welfare, and AC means one who seeks. So one who seeks the welfare of his disciples. And it's the instrumental case, instrumental singular. Then anukampakena. So this is one who has compassion, a compassionate one. Again, instrumental singular. Then anukampam upadaya means out of compassion. It's an idiom with upadaya, originally an absolutive, but together anukampam upadaya is a common idiom that we would translate out of compassion or out of sympathy. Then katung is done. Vo is the genitive plural. I'm sorry, the dative, genitive, dative, I'm sorry, dative plural pronoun for you. Tongue is that, which goes with katung, and maya is the instrumental, by me. So putting this all together. So whatever should be done by a teacher, by one who seeks the welfare of his disciples, by one who has compassion, out of compassion, done, that has been done by me for you. It just struck me that we could also perhaps have the punctuation this way. In that case, you would say, out of compassion, that has been done by me for you. It seems either way that anukampa upadaya could belong to either sentence. Okay, then continuing. Etani rukabulani. So these are the roots of trees. And etani sunyagarani. So these are empty huts, empty cottages. And jayata, so this is the second person plural imperative, meditate. And then ma pamadita. So this is a negative, a prohibition. Do not be negligent. And pamadita would be an aorist form used as a prohibitive form. So do not be negligent. Then do not be, and then ohuvata also is an aorist used as a prohibitive. Do not be those who have remorse, vipatisarino, pacha, afterwards. So do not be those who have remorse later. Then this is our instruction, anusasana. This is our instruction to you. So any questions here?
Bhante, the sort of the royal we here,
Yeah, it's a royal way. Yeah.
is that very common in Pali? How do we encounter it? This is the first time I'm seeing it.
I think it's fairly common. Yeah, occasionally the Buddha uses it. More often, I think the monks will use it when speaking to the Buddha, referring to themselves with the royal we, the plural form.
Even when they are singular, one monk speaking.
I think so.
Oh.
Of course, I'd have to do like a search to find examples.
Thank you, Bhante.
Bhante, did you say that, excuse me, that pamadata is from the verb pamadati? Or is it pamada?
Yeah, the verb itself is pamudgati.
Pamudgati. Okay, thank you.
But then it's from this verb that we get the noun, pamada. I just want to say if Geiger explains this particular hours form, just a moment. I don't see this form specifically mentioned in Geiger with the plural, but the Pali Text Society dictionary has a singular form of the prohibitive as ma pamado. So I would guess that pamadata would be the second person plural corresponding to ma pamado as a second person singular form. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so then we can go to the next sutta. We move on to the Vitakka Santana Sutta. We'll just skip the first paragraph, which is just stock material. So this is Sutta number 20 in the Majjhima Nikaya. Vitakka Santana Sutta. We'll see the way the word Santana is used in relation to Vitakka as we go down. So let's start off. We'll start off with this line, Adicita Manuyutena. So Adicitam Anuyutena Bhikkhave Bhikkhuna. Thomas?
Sorry, I was on mute. Bhante.
Oh,
Adichittamanayuttena bhikkave bhikkhuna
yeah. Pancha Nimitani Kalena Kalam Manasi Katabani.
pancha nimittani kalena kalam manasika katabbani.
Okay, so the subject here, again, this is one of those sentences with a kind of passive construction in which the logical subject is put in the instrumental and the actual object becomes the grammatical subject in the nominative case. So here we have, first I'll translate it literally, by a monk who is devoted to or intent upon the adicita, literally it's the higher mind. 5, and then we have a rather strange use of the word nimitta. 5, I don't know how to render it in a good way. 5, let's just say things. Kalena kalam is from time to time. Manasi katabani. So this is a future passive participle in the sense, or future optative participle, should be attended to, should be given attention. Okay, so by a, again, literally, by a monk intent upon the higher mind, 5 instances or occurrences should be attended to from time to time. Yeah, here the commentary glosses the word nimitta by karana, which is not particularly helpful. Because the word karana just means something like a cause or a reason, but it doesn't seem to work very well here. But we'll see what's intended as we go along. And so putting this into normal English, so I would say putting the subject, making the subject active, a monk who is devoted to the higher mind should attend to 5 things from time to time. Okay, then continuing, Kattamani Pancha.
Katamani pancha.
So what are the 5? Okay, so Ita Bhikkhave, Bhikkhuno Yang Nimittam Agamma.
Ida bhikkave bhikkhuno yam nimittam agamma.
Yam Nimittam Manase Karoto.
Yan nimittam manasikaroto
Upajante Papaka akusala vitaka,
uppajjanti papaka akusala vitakka,
chandupasanghitapi,
chandupasanghitapi,
dosupasanghitapi,
dosupasanghitapi,
tena bhikkhave bhikkhuna.
Bhante, we missed the word mohu.
Oh, did I miss that? Mohupasanghitapi,
Mohupasanghitapi,
tena bhikkhave bhikkhuna,
tena bhikkave bhikkhuna,
tamha nimitta,
tangha nimitta,
anyang nimitang manasi katabang,
anyam nimittam manasikat katabbam,
kusalupasanghitam.
kusalupasanghitam.
You know, it seems a little bit odd is that here the word nimitta seems to clearly mean an object, almost the same as the word that would be used later, aramana. But that doesn't seem to work in the first sentence. Okay, so this is the way we would take it. So for a monk, now, yang nimitang, which object or a certain object, agama. Now the word agama is originally it's a absolutive of the verb agachati, but it doesn't have the sense of having come upon, but rather it takes on an idiomatic sense of dependent upon or relying upon. So here it would be having relied upon a certain object, and then we have yang nimitang manasi karoto, for him attending to a certain object. Then upajanti, there arise papaka akusala vitaka, bad, unwholesome thoughts. And those thoughts are said to be chandupasanghitapi and so on. So they're bad, unwholesome thoughts connected with, so upasanghita means connected with chanda, desire, or dos upasanghita, connected with hatred, mohupasanghita, connected with delusion. So these three expressions are describing the vitaka, the thoughts. So then tena bhikkhuna, by that monk, tamha nimitta, from that object, anyang nimittam, another object, manasi katabam, should be attended to. Another object should be attended to, which is kusalupasamhitam, connected with the wholesome. So let's see if we could put this all together into normal English. So even though this isn't actually a genitive absolute, but I would translate it almost as if it were. So when a monk is relying upon a certain object, is attending to a certain object, if there arise bad, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire, connected with hatred, connected with delusion, then by that monk, another object different from that object should be attended to, one that is connected with the wholesome. Yeah, it's a complicated sentence, but any questions or comments? No questions?
Bante,
Yeah.
does it mean we have to replace unwholesome thoughts with wholesome thoughts? Is that kind of like the idea?
Yeah, that's the idea. One has to replace, it's not just, but it's not simply a matter of replacing the thoughts. The idea here is that when one is attending to a particular object, the unwholesome thoughts might arise. So then one has to change the object to take another object through which wholesome thoughts will arise. So maybe let's just take the example. Somebody is doing mindfulness of breathing, and then maybe lustful thoughts start to arise. In that case, he should put down the mindfulness of breathing and then take an object that's directly opposed to the lustful thoughts, like meditating on the 32 parts of the body. Or if thoughts of ill will arise, then he should put down the original object and take metta, or loving kindness, as the object.
Thank you, Bante.
Bante, the word kataban, you mentioned this to be, yeah, it is a future passive participle, but you also used another word. You defined this word with another thing like optative something. I just forgot. I could not catch it up.
Which katabani?
Katabang. Yeah.
Katabani here, manasi katabani.
Yeah. Yes, Bante.
Yeah, it's called a future passive participle. But I said,
yeah,
I think it's also called a potential or optative participle.
okay.
Because it's a participle with the sense of what should be done, what might be done.
Okay. In that case, it will be also future optative future participle.
Either
That's how we should.
either future passive participle or optative participle.
Okay.
Or potential,
Thank you, Bante.
potential participle.
Okay. Thank you, Bante.
Bante?
Yeah.
Why did they use itta instead of sache?
Say again.
Like for if, because isn't it kind of an if-then sort of sentence? And, you know, if the thoughts arise dependent upon, you know, then Tena at that time, O monks.
Yeah.
It seems like sometimes they use S-A-C-E, sache,
Oh, I see.
to set up
Okay.
that kind of.
Okay. Now I see what you mean. Yeah, maybe here it's not so much, even though we rendered a sense in English as though it were conditional. If this, then that. But the way it's structured in Pali, it's more like a when such and such happens, then you do this.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Bante.
So when a monk, when dependent upon a certain object, a monk is attending to a certain object, when there arise those evil, unwholesome, those bad, unwholesome thoughts. In that case, that monk should attend to another object different from that original object, one that's connected with the wholesome.
Okay. Thank you, Bante.
Okay, so we'll continue now. Okay, so tassa tamha nimitta.
Tassa tamha nimitta.
Anyang nimittang manasi karoto.
Anyan nimittam manasi karoto.
Kusalupasanghitam.
Kusalupasanghitam.
Ye papaka akusala vitaka
Ye papaka akusala vitakka.
chandupasanghitapi dosupasanghitapi mohupasanghitapi
Chandupasanghitapi, dosupasanghitapi, mohupasanghitapi.
te pahiyanti
Te,
te abbatang gachanti.
te pahiyanti, te abbhattang gacchandi.
Then te sang pahana
Te sampahana,
ajitam eva chitang santitati
ajhattameva chittam santhittati,
sannisidati
sannisidati,
ekodi hoti
eko dihoti,
samadhyati.
samadhyati.
Okay, the tassa is for him, and it goes along with manasi karoto, of him attending to another object different from that object, different from the original object. And this new object is connected with the wholesome. So when he is attending to that new object connected with the wholesome, then here we have subordinate clause. Those bad, unwholesome thoughts connected with desire and so forth, those pahiyanti, those are abandoned. So this is a passive form of the verb. Those are abandoned. Then those abbatang gachanti, they go to, say, destruction. Yeah, abbatang is from abhi plus atta. And the atta here is not the Sanskrit artha, but I think would it be ashta? Oops. Let me just get my big dictionary.
Bande, I think this asta doesn't have the retroflex s.
Yeah. I just see it in the Pali Text Society dictionary. Literally, it's going home, but it takes on the special sense of disappearing or coming to an end. Yes, it was abhi plus asta. Abhi plus astan, then it would turn. Of course, in Pali, then asta becomes atta. And then abhi would become abhyata. And then this cluster turns into ab. Yeah, so those go to vanishing, those go to destruction. So these unwholesome thoughts, they are abandoned, those go to destruction. Now we have tesang pahana. So this is an ablative form. Through the abandoning of them, the mind internally, santitati, becomes stable. Sannisidati, it settles down. A kodi hoti, this could be treated as a compound. It becomes unified, and samadhyati, it becomes collected or concentrated, going into samadhi. So any questions then coming up here? Okay, then we come to a simile. So sayatapi bhikkhave,
Sayathapi bhikkhave,
dako palagando va palagandan, palagando va palagandan te va siva.
dakho palagando va palagandanta vasi palagandante vasi va.
Sukumaya aniya olarikam ani
Sukhmaya aniya olarikam anim
abhinihaneya
abhinihaneya
abhinihareya
abhinihareya
abhinivateya.
abhinivattaya.
Or I see the singles and PTS, abhinivajaya. I'm not sure which would be better. Anyway, so here we have the case of a skillful, this is the simile, a skillful would be like a carpenter. Yeah, the commentary gives another word meaning carpenter, like a woodworker. Or palagand antevasi is the apprentice. So this is the apprentice of a carpenter. And he would use with a subtle or a fine peg, he would knock out a coarse peg. He would remove it. He would the commentary just gives it an explanation. Pull it out. He would pull it out with his hand. He would, okay, so he would pull it out. So again, putting it together, suppose, or just as a skillful carpenter or his apprentice with a subtle or a fine peg would knock out, would remove, would pull out a coarse peg. So in the same way, for this monk, then everything is repeated. The monk attends to another object so that which is connected with the wholesome, which those bad, unwholesome thoughts are removed, are abandoned, and go to destruction. And then with their abandoning, his mind becomes stable internally, settles down, becomes unified, becomes concentrated. It's a fairly complicated simile. So any questions here?
Bhante, not a question, but I just wanted to note that the word ani is used in contemporary South Indian languages to mean a nail or a peg.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
But it's not seen in the North anymore.
It's not what?
Seen in the North anymore.
Oh, really? It's interesting that some of these words have been preserved in South India, but vanished in North India. Okay, I think at this point, we could take a break and then we will we'll continue with this sutta next week. And we'll take a little break and then come back and do the Sutta Nipata. let's see, the time now is 2:13. So let's come back at 2:20. 2:20 we'll resume with the Sutta Nipata. Okay, so we're starting again. Now we are in Sutta Nipata. This is the Hemavata Sutta. And we are picking up at verse number 160. So this is a conversation between two yakshas, two demonic spirits. One of them is already sort of established as a devotee of the Buddha, and he's trying to persuade his friend, the other yaksha, to convince him of the virtues of the Buddha. And so Hemavata, the inquirer, is asking questions of Sattagira, the devotee of the Buddha. So with verse 160, Kachi narajati, Kachi narajati kamesu.
Kachi narajati kamesu.
Oh, very good. Kachi chitang anavilam.
Kachi chitang anavilam.
Kachi moham ati kanto.
Kachi mohang atikanto.
Kachi damesu chakuma.
Kachi damesu chakuma.
Yeah, so this word kachi, it doesn't have a translatable meaning, but it indicates that what is to come is posing a questions. So it's something like, could it be the case? Is it the case? So here he's asking, is it the case that he is not rajati? The verb rajati is the verb from which we get the noun raga, which means, in this case, lust, specifically kama raga, sensual lust. So is it the case that he is not made lustful among sensual pleasures, that he does not become lustful towards sensual pleasures? Then the next one, is it the case that his mind is anavilam? Now the word anavilam is a negation of avila, which has the sense of being turbid or cloudy or dirty. I just want to see the way the dictionary defines it. Not clear, disturbed, polluted. So anavila is not polluted, not disturbed. And from this, we could see from anavila, we can't determine exactly what is intended. But if we look at the third line, we have kachi moham ati kanto. Is it the case that he is overcome or transcended delusion? So from this, what can we conclude about the second line? What is intended by avila and unavila? Can anybody draw the inference? First line is lust. Third line is delusion. Vaishali?
Yes, Bhante, is it related to dosa? Bhante?
Yeah, it would have to be related to dosa, to hatred. So in the previous verses, you could see that the discussion is about the conduct of the Buddha, his bodily and verbal conduct. And now the questions turn to his qualities of mind, to his mental states. And so then the fourth line is almost an extension of transcending delusion. Is it the case that he is possessed of eyes, that's chakuma, in regard to dhammas, in regard to phenomena? So this would be like implying possession of wisdom. So is it the case that he is not sort of excited by lust in relation to sensual pleasures? Is it the case that his mind is not polluted by hatred? Is it the case that he has transcended delusion? Is it the case that he has vision in regard to dhammas? And then his friend Satagira replies, Naso rajati kamesu,
Naso rajati kamesu,
ato chitangana vilam,
ato chitang anavilang,
sabha mohang ati kanto,
sapa mohang atikanto,
buddho dhammesu chakuma.
buddho dame socha koma.
Yeah, so this is just stating positively what's the answers to the questions earlier, just posed in the previous verse. So he is not excited by lust in regards to sensual pleasures, and his mind is not polluted, that is, by dosa or hatred. He has transcended all delusion. And then he calls him here, the Buddha is one who possesses eyes or sight in regard to dhammas. So any questions about these verses? Okay, then we'll go on, continue with verse 162. Kachi vijaya sampanno,
Kachi vichaya sampanno,
kachi sangsudha charano,
kachi sangsutta charano, no.
yeah, oops. Kachi sa asavakina,
Kachi sa asavakina,
kachi nati puna bhavo.
kachi nati punabhavo.
Yeah, then we might as well do the answer verse as well. Then I just explained the answer verse. Vijaya cheva sampanno,
Vichaya cheva sampanno,
ato samsudha charano,
ato sangsutta charano,
sabasa asavakina,
sapassa asavakina,
nati tasa puna bhavo.
nati tassa punabhavo.
Okay, so the question is it the case that he is possessed of vijja, of higher knowledge? Is it the case that he is of purified conduct? It's charana. Is it the case that his asavas, the taints or defilements, are destroyed? Is it the case that he has no more renewed existence, no more rebirth? And then the Satagira replies that he is possessed of higher knowledge and he is of purified conduct. Then sabba or sabbe, all his asavas have been destroyed. And for him, there is no repeated existence. So this is, in a sense, is filling out this quality of the Buddha, vijja charana sampanno, which we get in the next verse. Okay, so then continuing, sampannang muni no chitang,
Sampannang muni no chitang,
kamuna vyapatena cha,
kamuna pyapatena cha
Vijacharana sampanam.
vichacharana sampannang.
I think this should be Pasang Sasi, which is the reading in the PTS edition. Vijacharana Sampanam. Dhammatonam Pasang Sasi.
Dhammatonang pasang sasi.
And this would be Himavata is speaking. So Hemavata is saying, the mind of the sage, sampanang, here we would maybe translate as complete. Let's see what I use in my translation. I used accomplished. So the sage's mind is accomplished with respect to kamuna. This is the instrumental of kama. With respect to action, to bodily action, and vyapatena, if you remember, this is speech, or the pathway of speech. So the sage's mind is accomplished with respect to bodily action and with respect to speech. Now, I would go to the fourth line in translation. You praise him by way of Dharma, according to Dharma, as one who is accomplished in knowledge and conduct. Okay, so Hemavata is speaking to Satagira. And Satagira says, actually he repeats the same thing. The only thing different here is the verb anumodasi. So then he says, you so the sage's mind is accomplished with respect to bodily action and with respect to speech. You rejoice in the one accomplished in knowledge and conduct. You rejoice in accordance with Dhamma in one who is accomplished in knowledge and conduct. So any questions?
Bhante, what is the meaning of this word, Bepathen?
Yeah, I explained the way it's explained in the commentary, and I'm not sure that is the original sense. So it takes biya to be derived from vacha. And then plus pata, pathway. And so I guess when these are combined, it becomes vacha pata. You'd have to search for the comment. Yeah, I don't want to search for the commentary now, but that's the way the commentary explains it.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
Excuse me, Bhante, why does Pasang Sati translate as you praise? It looks a bit more like a third person singular than a second.
Say again?
Why does Pasang Sati translate as you praise, if I understand correctly, when it looks like a third person singular?
Well, I changed the reading.
Okay.
Yeah, the Burmese edition, I think it was the Burmese edition, had Pasang Sati, but that doesn't make good sense here.
Yeah.
And so I checked the Pali Text Society edition, which is based primarily on Sri Lankan manuscripts, and it has Pasanksa C,
Yeah,
which makes
sense.
better sense. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Bante.
Bante,
Yeah.
what does it mean exactly? In accordance with the Dharma, you rejoice? The Dhammato.
Yeah, I don't know the detail. Let me see if I can find my commentary. Yeah, I think the commentary seems to be taking Dhammato not as Dhamma in the singular, but rather as representing the plural, Dhamma, in accordance with his qualities, with the Dhammas, the qualities that he possesses. So you praise him, the one possessed of knowledge and conduct. Actually, that makes better sense. You praise the one accomplished in knowledge and conduct in accordance with his qualities. And then here you rejoice in the one possessed of knowledge and conduct in accordance with his qualities. Yeah, that would make better sense.
And Bante, it's an ablative?
Yeah. The toe ending is an ablative ending. It's not the normal ablative case ending, but it's a special kind of ablative. In Sanskrit, I believe it's tas. Is there a special term for this? Is Lauren?
Yes, that's the tussle suffix.
It's just called the tas suffix.
Tussle. I don't know how to spell it. It's called the tussle suffix. So you can turn any noun into an ablative case.
Yeah, just by adding the tas.
TAS. Yeah.
Okay, so let's then continue. So this is Satagira. Satagira. So now I think it's Hemavata speaking. So again, actually, the 3 lines are the same. So the only thing, we don't have to read this together. The only thing new here is Handa Pasama Gautama. So the word Handa, it doesn't have a translatable meaning, but it's used in relation to a first person plural imperative when somebody is saying, let us do something. In this case, let us go see Gautama, who is the one possessed of knowledge and conduct. Okay, then he continues. The way I have it marked in my translation, yeah, I have this as Satagira still continuing. And then I have this ascribed to Hemavata. Okay, so now he says, we're in verse 165. Eni jangang kisang virang.
Eni jangkang kisang virang.
Apaharang alolupang.
Apaharang alulupang.
Muning vanasmin jayantang. Ehi
Muning
pasam.
Muning vanas ming chayantang ehi pasama gotamang.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very beautiful way he describes. He says, okay, so in translation, I would start with the fourth line. Ehi is come. Pasama. Let us go see Gautama. That's the Buddha. Then he describes him as Aini Janga. So Janga is the legs, and Aini is a kind of Indian antelope. So the one who has legs like an antelope, or the calves of the legs like an antelope. And he describes the Buddha as Kisang, thin, slender. Virang is a hero. Apaharang, this would be a Bahu Bihi compound from Apa, which means a little, and Ahara means food. So in other words, one who eats little. And Alolupa, Lolupa means like greed. So one without greed. And then he calls them the Muni, the sage, Vanasmin, in the forest, Jayantam, the present participle, meditating. So putting it all together, let us go see Gautama, whose calves are like an antelope's, who is slender, the hero who takes little food and is without greed, the sage meditating in the forest. Then he continues. Now we go into 166.
Bhante, may I ask a question about?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So the word viram is used in 165 as hero. And I'm wondering, virya, to what extent do you see in Pali texts that virya is connected to this meaning of vira, hero?
No, definitely. I mean, it's definitely, virya is derived from vira.
So could you translate it as heroism, virya? Or would that capture the meaning in your mind? Like
translate virya as heroism
or valor or something along that line.
Valor is okay. Not wisdom. Did you say wisdom?
No, heroism.
Oh, heroism. I wouldn't use heroism for virya because we have like virya explained as the quality by which one removes unwholesome states of mind and cultivates wholesome states of mind.
Yes.
So you could say it's vigor, energy, effort, valor is okay. But heroism, even though virya is derived from vira, but it maybe brings along other connotations that we don't want to bring in.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions then on this passage? Okay, so then we continue into verse 166. And let's just break this up a little bit. Okay. Sihang Veka Charang Nagam.
Sihang veka charang nakang.
Kame Suwana Pekinang.
Kame suana pekinang.
Upasankama puchama.
Upasankamma puchama.
Machu pasa. Yeah. Machu pasa pamochanam.
Machu pasapamochanam.
Okay, so here you could say I sort of broke up the sandhis so that the sense is clearer. So siha is a lion, and the V represents v, meaning like, which is in turn contraction of eva. So like a lion, then ekacharang is from eka, one or alone, and charity, moving or walking. So we say traveling alone like a lion. Then he calls him a naga. A naga, sometimes it can mean a cobra, but I don't think that's fitting here. A dragon, or it can be a bull elephant. Yeah, so the naga indicates like a powerful being. And then he's described further as kamesu anapekinam. So the is a negation, and apekati is to be concerned with. And so apekin is one who is concerned with, eager for. And then unapekin is one who is not concerned with, who has no interest in. And in this case, it's in sensual pleasures. So maybe the way I had translated it is indifferent to sensual pleasures. And then we have upasankama. So this is an absolutive of the verb upasankamati, to approach. So actually, I would start off actually in translation with upasankama, having approached the naga, the giant, traveling alone like a lion, the one who is indifferent to sensual pleasures. Then comes the finite verb, puchama, let us ask. And what they're going to ask is machu pasa pamochana. So pamochana is liberation, release. And it's release from machu is death, of death, and pasa is the trap. So let us ask about release from the trap of death. So it's going to be a profound question they're going to ask. And then this flows over into the next verse, 167. So let's take that verse. Akatarang pavattaram.
Akatarang pavatarang.
Sabadamana paragum.
Sapatamana paragum.
Budang vera bayatitam.
Putang vera payatitang.
Mayang puchama gotamang.
Mayang puchama gotamang.
Okay, the first two words are accusative singulars of action nouns. So we have one is akata, and pavattar, or this would be, I guess, in the nominative. Let's put it in the stem form, akatar, and I think it would be pavattar. So a kata is one who expounds, one who speaks, one who declares, and pavatar is one who maybe disciplines, one who like gives instructions. So we could call it the expounder, the instructor. And then he's further described as Sabadamana Paragum. Now, Paragu is it's a compound from para, which means the far shore, the beyond. And then the suffix gu, I think in the stem form, it's gu, is derived from the verb gachati. So one who is gone, in this case, one who is gone beyond, to the beyond of all dharmas, of all phenomena. One who has reached the far shore of all dharmas. And then he's called Buddhang, the enlightened one, and Vera by Atitang. So here we have Atitang is gone beyond, also gone beyond. Then Vera is enmity, and Baya is fear. So one who has gone beyond all enmity and fear. And then in the last line, he's referred to as Gautama. So putting it all together, we can maybe start translating the last line. Let us question Gautama, the expounder, the instructor, the one who has gone beyond in regard to all dharmas, all phenomena, the enlightened one, the one who has overcome enmity and fear. Okay, so any questions about this verse?
Yes, Bante, Katarang is accusative, right? And
Yeah.
then how about the first word in verse 166? So it's Ekacharang is present participle?
No, no. It's also accusative singular. It's a kind of formation from eka, and then the chara part is taken from the verb charity, but it's not a participle. It's just used to make a compound, one who travels alone. Is that clear?
Yes, Bante.
Yeah. And then I should have explained in Sabadamana Paragum. Yep. In correct grammar and prose, it would be Sabadamanam Paragum. But probably for metrical reasons, the is dropped to become Sabadamana Paragum. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, and these two are both accusative singular of the agent noun. Akatarang, Pavatarang. Okay, if there are no more questions, then I think we will end here. And then next time we'll come into the portion where they encounter the Buddha, and then they ask him their questions. Okay, so let us end with, we could end with 3 bows to the Buddha. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Bante.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.
Thank you, Bande. Thank you.
Bande.
Thank you.